Hey y'all, I'm Carrie,
Hey y'all, I'm Mandy.
and this is Monstrous. This episode contains topics and language that may not be suitable for all listeners, and topics that may be triggering for some. Listener discretion is advised. All right, Friday bonus episode.
Whoop whoop.
Yep, we got our ghost tube open for this one,
See how mouthy they are today.
and I know so far she's been all right.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens as we go.
Right.
So, let me see. I have a good one to tell you today. You're gonna like this one.
Nice.
Okay, so before we get into it today, we have an announcement for everyone. We now have a Patreon. So with this, you're gonna get all the episodes for free, just like you do now. But with this free tier on the Patreon, you're also gonna get access to our public Discord server. Then we also have two paid options. We have our first tier, which Mandy picked out our tier names,
I like
and they're
it.
great. So our first one is DNA donor. With this one, it's $5 a month, and you're gonna get everything the free tier offers. Plus, you're gonna get new member monthly shout out thank yous from us within the episode. And then you're also going to get a monthly bonus episode. A couple fun things there. Then we have our larger tier, and this one is the Forensically Fabulous.
I like that name.
I know, I love that one. That one's my favorite. So this one is $10 a month, and you get quite a few things in it. So you're going to get everything that the free tier and the DNA donor tier offer. You're also going to get to vote on the monthly bonus episodes. So the Forensically Fabulous tier are the ones that get to decide what monthly bonus episode we're going to cover. We'll put up a poll in there, and you guys will vote, and whichever one has the highest votes will be the one that we do. You're also here going to get to send us your personal shout outs. So if you have a shout out to someone that you know listened to it, or that's introduced you to the podcast, or birthdays or whatever, you'll send those in to us, and we will read those within a regular episode every week that everyone gets to hear. You're also going to get access to our private Discord channel that only Mandy, myself, and other Forensically Fabulous tier members get access to, and randomly released mystery content that we decide to give you guys.
Sounds good.
Yep. So go over there and check those out and decide whichever one that you can financially afford to do every month, and then whichever one that you want to be a part of.
Yep.
So that is the Patreon. There's lots of fun things to come. That Patreon is where we're going to announce a lot of those things that we come up with, and that is going to happen for the podcast in the future. So go over there, join one of those tiers, whichever one you can do or want to do. Join the Discord. Here you'll be able to, talk to each other. Mandy and I will, like I said, are also going to be on there, so you'll be able to interact with us personally as well. On there, you'd be able to create like our own little monster community.
That'd be fun.
Right. Okay. So, anything else about the Patreon or any other announcements that you can think of?
No,
All right. Well, with all of that, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So, our case today is about 341 years old. Yeah. So, it's an old one. It took place shortly after England's witch trials. Our ghost was murdered.
Oh, she's telling us her business today.
Oh, yeah. Who murdered you? See if she'll tell us. And just before the witch trials right here in America. So this one fits right in with our spooky season.
Nice.
All right. Yep. So it's January 1684. We're in the town of Hadley, Massachusetts. We're locked into winter's grip. Snowdrifts are against the small wooden houses. The branches of the trees groan beneath all of the icy weight. Then, in the dead of night, a mob of men drags an old woman from inside her home. Her name is Mary Webster. They don't take her to a courtroom or to a meeting house. Instead, they march her straight into the woods.
Mm.
They throw a rope over a branch, its fibers stiff against the frost. They then place the noose around her neck and pull. Mary kicks, gasps, and struggles. The rope digs into her skin, biting deeper with every desperate breath she takes. The men stand back, waiting to watch her die. But hours pass. The night grows colder, and when the sun rises over Hadley, Mary Webster is still alive.
Oh, shit.
The woman who would become remembered forever as half-hanged Mary, some say was just luck. Some say it was defiance. And others say that there were much darker forces that kept her alive. Even today, Hadley's people tell stories of that night, of the rope creaking in the wind, of an old woman's ghost wandering the snowy fields too stubborn to rest. Today, we are talking about the story of Mary Webster, witch, scapegoat, survivor, and ultimately legend.
Oh.
So, to understand Mary Webster's fate, we have to step back into the world of Puritan New England in the late 1600s. During this time, life was hard, precarious, and deeply shaped by faith. The people of Massachusetts lived in tight-knit, suspicious communities where survival depended on both God's favor and the cooperation of neighbors. Here, religion was not just a belief, it was law. The Puritans believed that the devil was not an abstract idea, but a real presence, and he was working daily to corrupt everyone's souls. Misfortune, whether it was spoiled crops, a sudden illness, or livestock just suddenly falling dead, was rarely seen as a chance. Instead, it was proof that Satan was near and that one of your neighbors might just be helping him. Witchcraft to the Puritans was not just superstition. It was a crime punishable by death. Ministers like Increase Mather and his son Cotton warned their congregation members that witches could summon demons, ride the night air, or send animal familiars, such as cats, dogs, and even birds, to do their bidding. If someone saw a shadow moving strangely in the forest or felt a chill pass over their bed at night, it might be explained by witchcraft.
Oh, creepy.
And this fear fell most heavily on women. Widows, spinsters, and those who were poor or outspoken lived under constant suspicion. A woman without a husband or sons was viewed as a social burden. A woman who knew herbs and healing could just be as easily seen as dangerous if her remedies failed. So you're not good at this healing shit, so you must be a witch.
Right. Crazy.
So independence or sharp words could be twisted into evidence of dealings with the devil. So, Mandy, we'd be fucked.
I was going to say, yeah, we're screwed. We're done.
We'd be witches.
Yeah.
Layer onto this eerie setting of 17th century New England. Harsh winters had locked families into cramped, candlelit homes. They dealt with endless dark forests filled with unknown dangers, and communities that believed evil might lurk just outside or even inside their very walls. This was the world that Mary Webster lived in, a world where suspicion simmered just beneath the surface, where neighbors turned on each other in times of fear, and where one wrong word or an unfortunate coincidence could be just enough to brand you a witch. So English law during the time, that would later become colonial law, allowed for witch trials and executions, giving accusations real legal weight. Massachusetts adopted a similar statute, which meant that suspicion could quickly spiral into formal trials and punishments. Being accused of witchcraft was more than a social stigma. It was potentially a lethal charge, as we all know.
Right.
So witch trials were not new to New England. Earlier cases, so decades before Salem, had already set a precedent for the deadly paranoia. In Hartford, Connecticut during the 1960s, several women were executed for witchcraft. And by the time Mary Webster lived in Hadley, The specter of witch trials had already become a part of the region's social fabric. So this
Don't understand.
Oh, she don't get it.
what do you not understand? What do you not understand? I'm telling you the story. Okay. Small isolated towns like Hadley were built on conformity and close observation. Standing out by being poor, outspoken, or otherwise unconventional was dangerous. Mary's later reputation as being a difficult, outspoken, and independent woman,
I can't talk.
Yeah, she
you're talking right now. What do you
Bedroom.
Yes,
What'd she say?
bedroom.
Oh,
Yes, this is a bedroom. You are correct. Made her an ideal scapegoat, priming the community for the accusations that would then follow. The Puritans' paranoia extended into folklore. Villagers believed that witches could blight milk, spoil butter, and ruin crops with just a glance,
that's wild.
right? Some even swore that witches could steal breath from children at night, that they could ride horses to exhaustion using spectral powers. So if you saw a horse out there just running around, it was a witch. She didn't. So these folk beliefs combined with real misfortunes made everyday life tense and very fearful.
Please leave.
No, she wants you gone.
Right. This is my house. I'm not going to leave.
Mm.
You are welcome to stay or you can leave, but I am not leaving. We can coexist. Hadley itself had a particularly dark undercurrent to it. So, according to later accounts, fear was more acute here than it was in Salem.
Oh, wow.
Hmm. In this small, very tight knit town, rumor and suspicion spread very quickly, and the community could turn on one of its own with a very terrifying speed. In such an environment like this, women like Mary Webster, who were independent, outspoken, and marginal in societal standings, was especially vulnerable. So, who was Mary Webster? She was born in England around 1624. This was a time of religious turbulence and social strictures that would follow her to the New World. She immigrated to Massachusetts as a very young woman. Eventually, she married William Webster and settled in Hadley. Like I said, this was a small, tight knit Puritan community that was perched on the edge of dense forests and winding rivers. From the start, Mary did not fit the mold of the compliant Puritan woman. She was outspoken, independent minded, and she was known to speak her mind. This was a trait that would earn her admiration from some, but suspicion from others. Her neighbors whispered about her sharp tongue, her unwillingness to bend to societal expectations, and her curious knowledge of herbs and remedies, which some found helpful and others feared. Mary's household was modest. It reflected the economic struggles of many inside the colony. Though not destitute, she was not wealthy, and her position as a woman without prominent family connections made her more visible as a target in a community that was hyper aware of status, conformity, and religious devotion. So Mary didn't fit none of this shit.
Mm-mm.
Her daily life was filled with routines familiar to all colonial women. She tended to a small garden, fetched water from the river, she spun thread, baked bread, and cared for her family. Yet every ordinary task was shadowed by the scrutiny of neighbors who were ready to interpret minor mishaps as evidence of malice or witchcraft. So they were just out for this lady from the very beginning.
Right.
Her reputation as quote unquote difficult continued to grow. Villagers accused her of being lazy, bitter, or quarrelsome. She did not always participate in church led social norms or ceremonies and the ways that pleased the town elders. In a society that equated compliance with virtue, her independence made her an outsider. A woman whose very existence challenged the strict hierarchy of Puritan life. Even small actions like walking alone through the forest, tending herbs, or questioning a neighbor's claim could be twisted into proof of sinister intent. So, basically, anything that we do today.
Yeah, would not be good for them.
No. Oh, she said burnt. Did you get
To your
burnt?
left.
To my lip.
She's chilling with you.
My cup? Is that what you're talking about? You're talking about my cup? Did you get burnt? Is that what you're saying? Oh, okay. So even before formal accusations came, Mary's life was marked by rumors of witchcraft. Children went missing, livestock fell ill, or sudden illnesses that swept through the households were often attributed to her glare or whispered curses, feeding the growing narrative of danger that surrounded her. So from the very beginning, anything that went wrong, people pointed their fingers at Mary
Mm-hmm.
just because she didn't, fit the way they thought she should. Yeah. Mary was a healer in a world that feared knowledge. Her remedies might cure some, but in the minds of her neighbors, the power to heal was indistinguishable from the power to harm. In an eerie dimension, local folklore suggested that animals behaved oddly around her, saying that livestock was sometimes refused to enter her yard, dogs would howl at her windows on moonless nights, and black cats were said to appear near her home, watching silently from the shadows.
I think it's a coincidence.
Yeah, it could just be animals because animals are fucking weird. They do some weird shit.
Right.
Some villagers claimed that on particularly dark evenings, a chill would sweep through her property, and the trees themselves seemed to whisper warnings to those who passed by.
So they're tree whisperers.
Apparently, it could just be the way that the wind is moving.
Right. Fucking weirdos.
Others spoke of seeing fleeting shadows dart between the branches or hearing strange sounds echoing through the forest, omens that they attributed to Mary's presence.
Mm.
The geography of Hadley itself contributed to the sense of unease. So, this is going to explain a lot of this stuff that they were like, oh, it's Mary doing it.
Right.
So, the town lay at the edge of a dense forest, actually, several forests, to be honest. Here, there were winded paths that twisted through the fog laden valleys, and the hoot of owls echoed like the cries of something unseen. So that would explain the sounds that would come from the woods.
Right.
The winded paths, that would explain why suddenly there would be
Sir.
Come closer.
you're going to have to come closer because I'm not moving. I got my whole setup here. I'm not moving it. Uh, those valleys would explain why in one spot there's a giant gust of wind and then there's not in the next. There's not some witchcraft going on. It's nature. So here, winters were harsh and isolating. This left families confined to dimly lit homes. Their hearth fires casted long, flickering shadows. The long nights amplified the fear, and then the closeness of the community meant that rumors spread very fast. It was within this liminal space of natural darkness and social tension that Mary Webster lived, a life constantly observed, measured, and judged. Social dynamics only heightened her precarious position. Hadley was a small town. It was run by a few influential men, of course, and it was tightly governed by conformity. Those who stood out, who were too poor, who were too loud, too knowledgeable, or too independent, became easy targets. The combination of fear, envy, and strict religious expectations created a fertile ground for accusations. Mary's sharp words and unusual independence, her knowledge of herbs, and her unorthodox approach to everyday life made her increasingly vulnerable. Puritan teachings deepened that tension. The devil was believed to be a constant and lurking presence. And misfortune, like spoiled crops, sudden illness, or the death of livestock, like I said before, was rarely random. Such events were signs of Satan's influence rather than life. And it was often thought to be aided by a human agent because, Satan can't do shit without a witch. In this mindset, even a woman that was helping a sick child could be suspected of having dark powers.
What?
Yep.
Whatever.
Mary's very identity as a woman who questioned, acted, and lived by her own rules made her a magnet for suspicion. Psychologically, Mary must have lived in constant tension. She was aware of the eyes watching her, she knew of the whispers that followed her, and she knew that her neighbors were ready to interpret the smallest mistake as evidence of malice. Despite this, though, she maintained her household, raised her family, and navigated a world that saw independence as dangerous. Her resilience alone would later contribute to her legendary survival of the infamous half-hanging incident. Mary's life in Hadley exemplifies the peril of being different in Puritan New England. A woman who dared to speak, act, and live according to her own terms. Yet, she was consistently under the shadow of suspicion. It was in this context, her independence, her knowledge, her small household, the town's tight social surveillance, and the eerie atmosphere of both natural and supernatural beliefs, that the seeds of the tragic half-hanging incident were sown. In 1683, the tight-knit community of Hadley was shaken by the mysterious illness of Philip Smith. This was a respected townsman, magistrate, deacon, and legislator. Smith's symptoms were strange and terrifying.
What'd she say?
Pathetic.
Damn. Rude.
Right. My bad. Maybe she's talking about the story.
That's still rude.
Smith's symptoms were strange and terrifying. He had sudden pains that seemed to come from nowhere. He suffered from sleepless nights that were filled with torment, so night terrors, and a sense of unease that even the most rational observers could not explain. So in a society where misfortune was rarely seen as random, the town began to whisper that the devil himself might be at work, and that Mary Webster, with her reputation for independence and herbal knowledge, was the conduit. Increase Mathers, who was the powerful Puritan minister and an influential voice in Massachusetts, publicly linked Mary to Smith's suffering. In his sermons and writings, Mathers suggested that the devil was working through her, a claim that carried immense weight. To the townspeople, a minister's words were not mere opinion. They were the truth. Mary's neighbors were already wary of her sharp tongue and unorthodox ways. Then you take Mathers' implication, it's now become a moral and spiritual indictment. These accusations soon escalated to legal action. Mary was arrested and taken to Boston to face formal charges of witchcraft. The courtroom was cold. It had wooden floors that creaked beneath the weight of all the anxious townspeople. Witnesses claimed that she had cursed livestock, brought illness to neighbors, and blighted fields. Some even reported seeing strange lights flicker near her home on the night that Smith had died, which they interpreted as ominous signs that confirmed her guilt. Spectral evidence, so the idea that she had appeared to people in dreams or visions, was also cited. This was a common and chilling practice in Puritan trials. Even though Mary was physically present in Boston, her quote-unquote spectral self was said to be haunting Hadley's forests and fields, spreading misfortune in ways that ordinary people could neither prevent nor understand.
People are weird.
Despite these serious charges, the court ultimately acquitted Mary for lack of tangible evidence. In legal terms, she was free. But in the eyes of her neighbors, however, acquittal did not absolve her. This merely proved that the devil had protected her. A sinister reminder that evil could be cunning and patient.
They need another hobby.
Mary returned to Hadley under a cloud of suspicion heavier than any courtroom sentence could have ever been. Every glance from a neighbor, every whispered conversation that she overheard was a reminder that fear and superstition had not released their grip on her. The social fallout was imminent and severe. Neighbors avoided her, they whispered in doorways, and would even cross the street to keep their distance from her. Trades and daily interactions were limited. Merchants refused to do business with her family, and visitors were scarce. Children were warned by their parents to stay away. This left Mary socially isolated and surrounded by a quiet, constant tension. Then, even the natural world seemed to be complicit in this. Livestock avoided her yard. Dogs howled outside her windows, and shadows in the fog-laden streets twisted unnaturally whenever she walked past. Puritan beliefs amplified this terror because witches were thought to be capable of controlling the weather, blighting crops, spoiling milk, or sending animals to harm their livestock. Some villagers feared that witches could enter homes unseen, steal the breath of children, or ride invisible horses across the countryside at night. These beliefs, part folklore, part religious conviction, shaped the way that every misfortune was interpreted and magnified the aura of fear that surrounded Mary. Mary herself faced this pressure with quiet resilience. Despite the isolation, the whispered rumors, and the ever-present threat of suspicion, she maintained her household, tended to her family, and went about her daily life with courage. The creaking floorboards of her home at night, the chill of fog rolling through Hadley, and the dim flicker of candlelight casting ominous shadows may have made her world feel haunted, but she endured. Her ability to persist under such scrutiny foreshadowed the legendary survival that she would achieve during the half-hanging, making her story one of quiet defiance as much as victimhood. Historically, Mary's experience was not an isolated anomaly. Accusations of witchcraft had plagued New England long before Salem and Mary's incidents. So in nearby towns, women were tried, imprisoned, or executed for similar alleged offenses. Her case fits into a broader pattern of systematic fear, superstition, and misogyny, showing that the danger women faced by women like Mary was part of a deeply entrenched societal and religious framework. Mary Webster's ordeal demonstrates the lethal combination of superstition, religious authority, and social pressure. The accusations against her were never purely legal. They were woven into the moral and cultural fabric of Puritan New England, where fear of the devil, neighborly gossip, and folkloric beliefs combined to make any independent-minded woman vulnerable. Her acquittal, though legally decisive, could not erase the sense of foreboding that had settled over Hadley, a foreboding that would erupt years later in the infamous half-hanging incident that would immortalize her name. So, what happened during this? One dark winter night in Hadley, a group of townsmen took justice into their own hands. Mary Webster, already under that suspicion of witchcraft that we just went over, was dragged from her home by a mob. Their faces shadowed in the dim glow of lanterns. They hanged her from a tree on the outskirts of town, deep in the cold and silent forest. The rope dug into her neck, her body swayed in the frigid air. Yet, by some combination of sheer will, circumstance, or divine intervention, she survived through the night.
Holy shit.
In the morning, when they came to check, Mary was still alive. The rope may have broken, she may have been cut down, or perhaps her resilience simply refused to surrender to the violence. Not sure which one, but either way, Mary survived. Her survival was almost supernatural, and it instantly cemented her place in local lore. The villagers were stunned, fearful, and divided. Some whispered that God had spared her, while others insisted she must be protected by darker forces, or the men that hung her were just idiots.
That could be very, yeah.
The event that repeated in whispers and stories for decades became the foundation for her lasting moniker, Half-Hanged Mary. The aftermath of the hanging did little to ease Mary's isolation. Neighbors avoided her home, crossed themselves when passing her property, so they did this.
Mm-hmm.
Or they whispered in doorways about her supposed powers. Children were warned to steer clear, and some townsfolk even refused to trade with her or even acknowledge her presence. Every day carried the weight of suspicion, and even those who once supported her may have feared the consequences of association with her. In the small, watchful world of Hadley, survival alone could be just as dangerous as being guilty. So the local tales about the incident only grew, weaving in layers of fear and fascination. People claimed that strange lights danced in the fog near the site of her hanging, and that animals behaved unusually awkward. saying that cows refused to enter her yard, owls circled overhead in eerie patterns, and dogs avoided the path entirely. Trees near the hanging tree were said to moan and creak unnaturally at night, as if echoing the injustice done to her. Some even reported hearing whispers or glimpses of shadowy figures following Mary on fog-laden evenings. The natural world itself seemed to acknowledge the horror and the mystery of the event, cementing her story in the eerie fabric of Hadley folklore. Though fear must have gripped her, Mary's inner resolve shone through. She may have prayed, remembered her family, and focused on sheer survival. Her courage, quiet defiance, and determination to maintain her household, despite the looming threat of violence, emphasized her resilience. This inner strength foreshadowed her legendary survival and ensured that her story would endure far beyond Hadley. Mary's half-hanging was not an isolated incident in New England either. Extrajudicial hangings and mob actions against accused witches were part of a wider pattern of fear-driven violence long before Salem. Women who survived such attacks were often never fully reintegrated into their communities, constantly living under continued suspicion and isolation. Hadley's fear then was a microcosm of systematic superstition, religious paranoia, and social pressure that had already shaped the lives of countless women in the colonies. Mary Webster's ordeal became legendary. I'm sitting right here. Where did you go? I mean, you have to be in the same room with me. Come in here and then you can see me. Mary Webster's ordeal became legendary, not only for her survival, but for what it revealed about the society around her. A society that was quick to judge, that was prone to violence, and deeply enmeshed in superstition and fear. Her story stands as a chilling testament to the dangers of hysteria and the enduring strength of a woman who refused to be broken. Mary Webster lived another 11 years after the infamous half-hanging, dying in 1696.
That's wild.
Right. Yet the memory of that night lingered, both in Hadley and in the wider region, cementing her name as Half-Hanged Mary. Her survival became a symbol of endurance and mystery, a story that blurred the lines between fact and folklore, history and legend. The imminent community reaction was a mixture of awe, fear, and renewed suspicion. Neighbors whispered behind those closed doors. They were hesitant to meet her gaze. Some avoided passing her house altogether. Children were warned by their parents to stay away from, quote, the witch's home. Even those who had once sought to help her in healing or counsel now approached cautiously, unsure whether she was protected by God or aligned with the devil. Her social isolation became nearly complete, a living testament to how quickly fear and suspicion could poison relationships. Puritan beliefs framed her survival as an almost supernatural event. Some villagers insisted that it was divine intervention, while others muttered that only the devil could grant such a protection. Surviving the hanging, in their eyes, proved her connection to forces beyond mortal understanding. Whether holy or unholy remained a matter of interpretation. This ambiguity ensured that her legend would outlast the specifics of her life. Local folklore grew around Mary and her experiences. People claimed the rope had left marks on her neck that never healed normally, evidence of an unnatural endurance. Animals behaved strangely near her home and around the hanging tree. Trees near that tree moaned and creaked at night and on fog-filled nights. Whispers, shadowy figures could be glimpsed near her property. Unexplained lights were said to dance in the mist, interpreted as omens of her ongoing connection to otherworldly forces. Some even claimed that Mary had gained the ability to, quote, sense evil or see spirits after her near-death experience, and that strange phenomena seemed to recur on the anniversaries of her hanging. So this poor lady just she couldn't get away from this shit. Mary's personal resilience remained central to her story. Despite constant fear, social ostracization, and the lingering threat of mob violence, she went on about her life. Her courage and quiet defiance became part of this legend. foreshadowing the almost mythic endurance that Margaret Atwood would later immortalize in her poem about half-hanged Mary. Hadley was not unique in this fear. As I said, this violence against women accused of witchcraft were part of this huge pattern before, during, and even after Salem. Other women had been attacked, sometimes killed, sometimes surviving, only to remain the pariahs of their own communities. While Salem's witch trials are infamous, Hadley's fears were just as intense and deeply personal, reflecting the tight-knit nature of similar Puritan towns. Mary's case stands out not just for her survival, but for how the tale became a cautionary and folkloric echo, a reminder of both the human capacity for cruelty and the ability to endure it. So even after her death, Mary's story persisted in Hadley. Locals spoke of her ghost appearing near the hanging tree, or of hearing her voice carried on the wind during foggy nights. The landscape itself seemed to bear the imprint of her story, with certain paths, trees, and landmarks being remembered as tied to her ordeal. Beyond Margaret Atwood, Mary Webster inspired songs, tales, and ghost stories all throughout New England, becoming an icon of female endurance and defiance. Her name remained a chilling emblem of the dangers of fear, suspicion, and superstition, but also a beacon of courage, resilience, and quiet rebellion. Mary Webster's legend endures not only as a historical curiosity, but as a haunting testament to the human experience at the intersection of belief, fear, and resilience. A story that continues to resonate in the whispers of New England forests and the shadows of Hadley's long winter nights. Her ordeal embodies the dangers of fear-driven justice, scapegoating, and neighbors turning on one another. Her life and near-death experience illustrate how suspicion, superstition, and rigid social norms can conspire to make an innocent person a target. She stands as a symbol of how legends preserve injustice, but also how defiance, resilience, and human endurance is in the face of cruelty. Her story ties into the broader history of witch hunts and the prosecution of women in New England and beyond that. Communities of the 17th century often allowed fear to override reason, and religious authority was used to justify punishment, sometimes with lethal consequences. Yet, Mary's survival reminds us that even in these harshest circumstances, individuals can resist, endure, and leave a mark on history. So even far after her death, because it's 2025 now, and here we are talking about her life lingers within local folklore. Villagers continue to talk about strange phenomena that is near her once standing home or the tree where she was hung, especially on the anniversary. They still talk about unexplained lights that appear in the fog, the shadowy figures or whispering sounds that seem to echo through her defiance. These stories have kept her legend alive for all these years. They continue to blend fear and admiration along with horror and awe. Mary's own perspective, her courage, quiet, defiance, and determination to maintain her household and protect her family under relentless scrutiny, adds a human depth to the tale. It is in this inner strength that transformed her from a victim of hysteria into a figure of legendary endurance, giving her story both historical weight and emotional resonance. Her legacy has also reached into literature and culture as well. Like I said, Margaret Atwood immortalized her in a poem titled Half-Hanged Mary. And over the centuries, songs, ghost stories, and local lore have continued to celebrate her as an icon of not only female endurance, but also defiance and survival. Her story continues to resonate today, reminding us how easily fear can spiral into violence and how courage can endure beyond the shadows of oppression. Finally, we leave you listeners with a haunting image. We have a snowy Hadley night, the rope swinging in the wind, and Mary Webster, half in shadow, half in legend, refusing to die when the world wanted her gone. Her story remains a timeless reflection on the human capacity for both cruelty and resilience, a legend that continues to whisper through the forests and the shadows of New England long after that last flicker of candlelight has faded. And that is the tale of Half-Hanged Mary.
That's crazy that she made it through being hung.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild, dude.
Yep, it is. It's a crazy one.
Yeah. That's
Yep,
neat.
I thought it was a really good one.
Yeah.
And I knew you had never heard of it. I can't remember. I think I was Googling. Oh, I was Googling for the Salem witch trials because we're going to cover that sometime within the next couple weeks. So I was Googling that and I found another set of witch trials that I'd never heard of before that we're also going to cover. And this one.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, that sounds like a good one. So I knew you had never heard of it because I had not.
No.
And you had never mentioned it to me either. So
Uh-uh.
that's it. I thought that was a fun one. And then the next couple weeks, we're going to do the Salem witch trials. So I figured that was a good starter for that.
It is. That was a good one.
Yep, it's a good one. Okay, so guys, we have two options for your bonus episode for this month that we're going to put up on our Patreon for our forensically fabulous tier. Now, normally we'd put that poll up at the beginning of the month and then leave it up for 2 weeks. That way you guys have plenty of time to vote on it. That gives us time to see which one won and then get it wrote out. Since it's already like the middle of the month, this poll is only going to be up for a week. And then that will be released the end of this month. Then starting next month, it'll be up those first full 2 weeks of the month. So head over there if you can afford to do that top tier. Head over there, get your vote in so that way you have a say in what that bonus is this month. If you can't, we do have a free option. You still get that Discord. All of that stuff is listed on there on the Patreon. You just have to go in and search us. I'll also put a link in the description for this episode. So it's right there and easy for everybody to find this week. And I think that's it. That's all I have.
That's all I have.
All right, guys, make sure you come back on Monday. Don't forget to subscribe so you get notifications when these episodes drop. So then you can also, if you're on Patreon, can go check out your Patreon, see what's there. Give us a rate and a review. This helps new listeners find the podcast. And with that, we will see you on Monday for a cursed object.
Ooh, nice.
This time. And we hope you keep listening. And remember to
watch for monsters.
And don't kill people. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.